Welcome to the Podium Sessions podcast. This is part 2 of our driver pairings for the 2026 season. We break down these drivers and how well they're going to do in the upcoming season. So let's have some fun. Let's get into it. All right, the boys are back in town. Here we go. Episode 10. Episode 10. And guess what we're going to be doing? We're going to be going over our driver pairings, and this is going to be segment number 2, which I'm really excited about. But before we get into segment number 2 of driver pairings, we do need to talk a little bit about the end of the Bahrain testing. And I'm going to throw this out there for the things that had happened in the latter half of testing. So let's call it second testing series, 3 days. Did you guys?
Can I guess what you're going to say?
No, I was going to ask a question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
If for the things that happen, did you anticipate and or expect those series of things to happen? And I'll use this as an example. How about the Aston Martin being complete garbage? How about the fact that Ferrari's spooling up so hot with a smaller turbo and launching off the line like a goddamn rocket ship? Did you guys expect these things to occur?
No, I mean, the Aston one I could see coming, especially from the moment that Aston Martin announced Adrian Newey as a team principal. But the Ferrari one, I did not see coming at all. I definitely didn't see coming a rear wing that looks like a doner kebab thingy. So, yeah, I didn't see those coming at all.
Yeah, the rear wing I thought was pretty cool. Come straight into testing with that, and they're like, look at this little flip-de-doo.
Wild. Try copying it in about a week or two. It's not going to happen. Yeah. They've been working on that for a while, which is very surprising. So key takeaways for me is I think Aston Martin are hiding something. Why do you
think everyone's hiding shit all the time?
Well, everybody's hiding something for sure. Everybody for sure is hiding something. I don't think these vessels are being driven or tweaked with what I believe they have the correct percent. Like for example, give me an example. It took analysts, technical analysts, more than 3 days of practice to understand how Max was having an advantage in corners, how he was downshifting. In paths of 2, he was doing double downshifting, putting so much stress on the car, which is why he wasn't locking up and at the same time revamping his energy way faster than everybody else in the corner. It took people that are literally analyzing this 3 days to do it. Second point being is I mean, to just complete what I was trying to say, I think they're hiding something. Adrian Newey being team principal since 4 or 5 months ago or whatever timeline it was really doesn't affect the amount of work he had been putting into a car that everybody knew was going into regulations. That's my honest opinion. Do I believe they're in the top 4? Absolutely not. I think Aston Martin is out of the top 5 this year in contention, but I think they have a much better, more reliable car that they are putting off. I think if they are understanding what they need to tweak, and I think they are and should be, I think they should be good to go by Melbourne. I am very surprised with Ferrari's technical developments. Obviously, that rear wing. It's just absurd. I think it's not even like cool. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah, dude, it was dope.
Different. The technical challenges are expected. I think, go back, just Google Epstein, Toto Wolff, and you're gonna know what I'm talking about. That's
That was so funny.
Wild. But honestly, I'm with Toto there. Like, if it's not one is the other, I think that even with those issues, I think they're going to be able to dominate for a while. Very surprised with Ferrari. And I'm even thinking they're the ones that are hiding the most because, consistently top 5 pace, a lot of laps out there. Charles was flying.
Yeah, but more than a second.
Obviously flying with hybrid car standards, but flying nonetheless. I think Ferrari is potentially back. I think the midfield is going to be a little bit of a, free for all, but we're going to cover this in our next episode where we have our 2026.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Listen, I mean, I thought there was a lot of cool things that happened in the second practice, like the flippy wing, although I can't wait for the time where it doesn't actuate correctly and it just gets stuck.
Yep.
I'm waiting for the moment to where that happens. But yeah, I don't think on the topic of Aston Martin, I don't think Aston Martin is hiding anything. I don't think they're sandbagging. I do agree with you that it does sound like they know what they need to do. But here's the reality. The first time Honda developed engines for F1, it took them a long while for the development to continue to where it was maximized.
Mhm.
What I didn't realize, and I just found out a few days ago, is that I suspected that the same Honda engineers that had worked on the Red Bull power units would migrate over and work on the Aston, and it's not the case. It's a brand new team. So I think from a development perspective, they're going to have a bit of a slow crawl for a little bit of time, and I would say probably throughout the 2026 season. But it will be cool to see throughout the season any sort of updates that they make to the car relative to the Frankenstein that was created. How that'll actually be
I
affected.
think it will because, and solely because, I've never seen Fernando Alonso so calm and positive about a terrible situation. I think they know something we don't.
It's possible. It's very possible. Or the team said, "Cool it the off, Fernando, and stop throwing shit."
Yeah, because it's not just Fernando throwing shade at the car. Lance was doing it as well.
Yeah.
That's typical Lance, though. I think that's kind of the challenge, is that Lance, every time there is some sort of on-track disaster, Lance is really quick to blame everybody but himself.
Yep, agreed. But nonetheless, both of the drivers are doing it at the same time. So I think I do agree to an extent with Alex. I think they are hiding something. Now, here's the thing. Whether that thing is good or bad, I don't know. Because it could also be, oh, damn, there's actually even bigger problems than what people are actually seeing. Do I think they're going to rock up to Melbourne and be it's going to be a completely different car that runs well? My gut is saying no. I do think that car is going to improve throughout the season. If there's someone who can figure it out, it's Adrian Newey. Now, on the topic of Ferrari, I'm going to be quick because I don't want to give them too much attention yet. I am going to warn all the Tifosi out there. Two things. First, last year, the fastest team at testing was Williams.
Carlos Sainz specifically.
Carlos Sainz specifically. That's no shade to Williams. It's more taking these results from testing so seriously.
You're really going to hate my predictions.
I'm sure I am. But it is...
This show might be over after episode 11.
I do think it's very important for the sport to Ferrari be at the top. So I am rooting for them, for sure.
So is the FIA. That's why they gave him the rotisserie wing.
But with that said, I would just cool your jets, Tifosis. I would cool your jets about saying this is your year, because come Silverstone, come Zandvoort, you're going to be crying, just like you did last year and just like you did the year before and the year after.
You're really going to hate my constructors' predictions.
Oh, God, I can't
All
wait.
All right, guys, let's get to it. Best driver pairings part 2.
Let's go.
Driver pairings part 2. Let's start with Alpine. We have Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto. What do you guys think? And I'll start with JW. What do you think of this driver pairing?
You guys are going to laugh. I think this is a pretty solid driver pairing. I think Pierre Gasly is easily one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. And I mean, I can't really say much about Franco. Honestly, I think he showed dashes of very good driving his rookie season with Williams. Unfortunately, we weren't able to really see that last year. Is that part of the car? Is that a problem with the car? I don't know. But that car is going to have a Mercedes engine this season. And there's no excuses now. You have a solid power unit supplier. Yeah, that's it for me. I think it's a pretty solid pairing. And if I had to give it a ranking, 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I echo that. I really don't have to get too deep into it. I think Franco's really good for the sport. I want to see him, mature a little bit more. And he kind of embodies for me that like old school sort of playboy, Poon Tappa, Formula One guy. I think he's got that attitude. Right, he doesn't really care that much. He's bringing a lot of money to that team. I think he's a great driver. He showed it again, glimpse of greatness in Williams. I think with a reliable car, if he's able to understand how to drive it, which is I've been actually agreeing a lot with some articles I've been reading on Alpine potentially being in a solid position to fight for, sixth, seventh, or eighth or sixth or seventh in the midfield, not as individual results as points being raked up by Pierre or Franco, but Pierre's pretty fast. Give him a couple solid, fifth, sixth, and a few races, and just have Franco sneak in on the points for 4 or 5 races, and then you've got him on sixth in terms of constructions, which isn't bad. Going from last now being 11 teams to number 6. So that's my thought. I won't even rank it.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually that's a really good take. Specifically, we saw Pierre Gasly in the later half of the 2025 season put that car where it didn't belong. And I think in a lot of instances, he proved that he's a very capable driver as long as he has a good car underneath him. And it's clear that, most teams weren't making I would say incredible updates last year. Some of them said, "Hey, we're not going to bring additional packages to the rest of the season because we're preparing for 2026." Alpine is one of those. They're one of those teams that made that statement. But Pierre Gasly managed to do things in that Alpine in the later half of the season that he probably shouldn't have been able to do. So I would see him more often than not over Colapinto being in the points. I do think there probably will be those chances where Colapinto could probably sneak a point or two and getting inside P10. But I think Gasly's probably going to be the one to carry that team. But I do agree with you as far as I think they are just going to be on the fringe, especially as the season goes on the fringe of being that number 5, number 6, maybe even number 7 team. I do think there's a real possibility for that. So, all right, let's move on to the wonderful and lovely Aston Martin. What do we think about Aston Martin in terms of the driver pairing itself?
Do we really have to say it?
We have to. We have to.
We have to. Okay, 2-time world champion that refuses to retire because he wants to be competitive. Not necessarily win a championship, but he wants to be competitive. He wants to get some W's. Who's willing to put his body through just strenuous conditions and strenuous ownership and a wild revamping and restructuring team that for a very brief moment showed, glimpses of greatness. And then you had Daddy's boy, who can't drive a car.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I truly believe this is one of the, in my opinion, this is one of the weaker pairings. And it's not because Fernando Alonso is not a good driver. I look at it and say, why is Fernando Alonso continually showing up? Is it the competitive nature? What is it? Like, I do question it once you're at that age. Is like, what are you in it for?
20 years removed from his last world championship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's what's in it for you type of thing. And then I look at Lance Stroll, and it's almost seemed like Lance Stroll is in it because his dad's just like, this is the expectation I have for my own child. But I feel like if you were to give Lance the choice, and the fact that his dad's a billionaire and Lance doesn't need money, he would just probably rather be skiing. The dedication, the time, the attention and effort to F1 is not as heightened as it is for some of the other guys who are really scrapping to win world championships. I don't think Lance Stroll's in it the same way. So to me, this is actually, quite honestly, one of the weaker driver pairings for those reasons, in my opinion. JW, what do you think?
I don't have to get into it. I think it's I think it's a bang average driver lineup at this point currently. So
yeah. All right, let's move on to Williams. Ooh, this is a fun one. We have Williams, so same driver lineup as we had in 2025. So Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. JW, what do you think about this driver pairing?
I think this is the most underrated driver lineup on the grid, and I don't think it's even close. I think Alex Albon, he showed it when he was at Red Bull. I think Albon's a very solid point-grabbing driver when given the car to do so. I'm not going to get into all the mechanical issues Williams had last year in the first half of the season.
He had quite a few.
Please don't.
Okay. And I've said this multiple times on this podcast, boys. I will go to the grave saying that Carlos Sainz is the smartest driver on the grid.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that Williams, although aesthetically they did not deliver the prettiest car, I am hoping under that hood and under all that, there is a good car that could deliver Sainz and Albon some solid results. Because I think the team is long overdue for them. I think they're one of the hardest working teams in Formula One. And yeah, I think this is the most underrated driver lineup on the grid. I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
I think most importantly, I want to add to that because I echo that sentiment, but I think that they're the second most in terms of underratedness. They're the second most. I think the most underrated one. Did we cover Haas?
No, that's next.
No, we haven't yet.
Well, for the next one, I've got the most underrated driver pairing. I think it's Haas, but they're the second for sure. The second most underrated, right? They've both showed what they could do. Carlos was at the top of Ferrari for a couple of seasons. He obviously got 2 podiums last year with a vehicle with a vessel that did not belong on the podium. Let's be real. I also think more importantly, which is what I was going to lead with, I think they are both oddly in kind of a make or break season.
Yeah.
They're under contract. They have room to stay in Williams for a couple more years, but I think both of them have an opportunity to move elsewhere while their contracts are over if they have solid years. And by solid years, I mean this year and next year. If Albon cannot prove that he can drive a vehicle that's subpar, right? You know, they started the year with a great kit, and then just Carlos just had misfortune over misfortune, which didn't allow him to even display that performance. And then when the car was allegedly less competitive in relation to others' upgrades, and Carlos just drove that thing while Albon couldn't understand it, even though the car was actually modeled after him. I believe Albon is going to be looked at very differently than he is now,
I agree.
which is why I don't necessarily put the pairing as completely the most underrated. Carlos, everybody knows what he's capable of. So I mean, this is one of my favorite pairings for sure. It's my guy.
I'll end on this as far as what the drivers have been able to do, and probably not the most optimized car. In 2024, they achieved, Williams did, as a collective team, 17 points in the constructors, and in 2025 137 between both those drivers. That's pretty substantial, right? That's a hell of a climb, and you don't do that by just making the best car. You do that by having a great driver pairing, and we've talked about it before, I think, on an earlier episode, as far as what Sainz has been able to bring to that team outside of just his driver talent. He's a leader within the team, and it's clear that has had a great cause and effect.
Williams is cool again.
Yeah, they are. They're legit cool. Yeah. Even though James Vowles is kind of a dork, but I like him. He's like a cool dork.
He's the coolest dork ever, man.
He's not Fabio, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I'm glad for that. And so Alex already ruined it. We're on to Haas next. Alex, so we'll start with you.
Yep.
Most underrated. Why do you think Haas is the most underrated with Esteban Ocon as a driver?
Well, Esteban has still, throughout the last couple of seasons, displayed flashes of brilliance. And he, unfortunately, wasn't put in a position with a car so consistent as what the Haas is appearing to be early on. This is one of the only cars that I see from practice one, from Barcelona. They've been consistently okay. They've been logging in a ton of laps. They haven't had significant issues. And when Esteban Ocon has the opportunity to drive something nice and he's not, then he is absolutely lethal. Same thing goes for Ollie Behrman. I wouldn't necessarily put him in the in the lethal category. I would just put him as inexperienced. Mexico last year, 4th. I mean, dude got close to get the team the first podium. I think that he's slightly overlooked in the sense of, he's still kind of a rookie in a way. He's very young, but he's got a great poise. Driving the car. So if he is given a reliable vessel, he will. And again, can't wait for driver rankings. He will deliver.
Okay, JW, what say you?
I think, to an extent, I do agree with Alex in his opinion that this is the most underrated lineup on the grid. I'm still gonna stick with Williams, but I do understand where you're coming from for sure, dude. I am a big fan of Esteban Ocon. In the last 3 seasons, I've seen him deliver performances in cars that had no business delivering those performances. Like, I'm sorry, an Alpine in 2023 had zero business being on the podium in Monaco. Like, that's just wild. And the Brazil 2024 drive, don't get me started on that. And Ollie Behrman, I'm very big on Ollie Behrman. I think he's a Ferrari driver in waiting. His performance in Mexico proved how good of a driver he is and why Ferrari was willing to sub him in for Carlos when Carlos went down with appendicitis. So yeah, I'm not gonna get much more into it. I think this is a very solid driver pairing, and I think Haas has their future pretty well secured unless Ferrari comes knocking for Ollie.
Ayo Komatsu mentioned recently that he was somewhat disappointed, and he was open about this and publicly stated that he was disappointed in the lack of results from Esteban Ocon being a veteran driver as of last year, and said he needs to get his shit together for the 2026 season. I think Ollie Bierman, no doubt, is on an upward trajectory. Ollie Bierman, I believe, especially in the later half of 2025 season, handled Esteban Ocon pretty decently. Like it didn't take much for him to outshine Esteban Ocon. He did numerous amounts of times, especially late in the season, last 5-6 races. So I think as a veteran driver, I'm not saying Esteban Ocon is a bad driver. I'm saying if you're a Haas and now you're playing towards the front of the best of the rest, you really need to maximize your driver skill to maximize what you can do in the car. And I don't know that that's Esteban Ocon. I think that's Ollie Bierman for the long term. But like you said, I think he's a Ferrari driver in waiting. Like it's a matter of time before he gets a first or second seat, depending on what Ferrari does this year. I'm not. I hope I'm not being too harsh on Esteban Ocon. I just think he's been around long enough, and yeah, he's done some good things, but he's also, I feel like he's just kind of in nowhere land right now. It's like, what is his trajectory? Ollie Bierman, it seems to be very obvious. Ocon, it does not. So I have some criticisms of Ocon overall, but
in a way, it's a very much make or break season for Esteban.
yeah, I agree.
They have Jack Doohan as a reserve driver now. Not that that's impressive or anything, but just saying he's going to be in that garage.
One man's trash is another man's
treasure. There you go.
Jesus.
All right, let's move on to Cadillac. Oh yeah, we've got two veteran drivers. Salty as a mother effer between the both of them. So we have Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas at Cadillac this year. What do you guys think of this pairing?
Let me before we move on, I was looking at the stats. I think perspective always matters a lot when looking at these things. Just to confirm, in all seasons, Alex Albon, point of reference, has achieved 221 points, while Esteban Ocon has achieved 273 points. Albon has only had 2 podiums, while Esteban Ocon has 3. And
a race win.
And they have the same amount of Grand Prix competed at 108. Points per GP. Esteban Ocon averages 2.53, while Alex Albon only averages 2.07. Perspective is very important, my guys.
I think we should give Ocon back to Alpine then. Let's give Ocon to Alpine with Gasly, and then we'll put where can we stick Albon? Not at Williams. We'll stick Albon in the second Haas seat.
Or the second Red Bull seat.
Just give him back to Red Bull. That's good perspective. Right. I like it. I like you. You came in hot with the stats, and I'm not going to argue it. Very close, obviously, between both drivers. It's just I still think Albon is somewhat on an upward trajectory, hopefully this year, as reliability pending, and I just don't see the same with Ocon. But hey, you never know. Could literally come and full steam ahead, and we could look at him and go, wow, look how good he's doing. Who knows? But all right, let's move on to Cadillac. What do you guys think of the Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas pairing? I think that the oldest driver pairing collectively, right? I don't know, but man,
easy.
Is it?
Yeah,
is it? I don't know though. Are you sure though?
Should be by far.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way it isn't.
Dude, I don't.
Who?
Dude,
how old's Lance Stroll?
Lance Stroll's a baby. Lance Stroll's like 25, dude.
Yeah, but Alonso's like 84.
Alonso's like 44, but both Checo and Valtteri are like
they're in their mid 30s, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'll start. I think from a
look at that stat man working at the bottom.
From a perspective solely of how smart the move was, I think this was the smartest played lineup for Cadillac.
Absolutely.
I think if you want to start a team, you want experience, and what better than the driver that played second fiddle to a 7-time world champion?
Yep.
And the driver that played second fiddle to a 4-time world champion.
Yep.
And listen, to be fair, Checo and Bottas are very good drivers.
Very.
in their heyday. Hey, there's no guy that loves the street circuit more than Checo. Just go see the Azerbaijan Grand Prix records. Yep. And Bottas is consistent and trustworthy. So yeah, I'm not going to get much more into it. I think it's a very smart driver pairing, and I can't wait to see what they do this year.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do much, but I still can't wait. I still want to be excited.
Yeah. My only thoughts about it is kind of like they're doing exactly what they probably should do, and you're bringing in two people who have a ton of experience that understand the engineering aspects and understand what it's like to be on a team where a car is being developed, but they're not developing it for Checo and for Bottas long term. They're developing it for other drivers to come in. They're maximizing the car. They're getting the input from these guys, and then the team will be balanced out by young talent eventually. Like these two guys are not going to hang on for the next 4 years. It's just not going to happen.
Agreed.
But I'm in for it just like you guys are. All right, last but not least, can you guys guess who we haven't covered?
Big Mac Daddy.
Big Mac Daddy. We have not covered McLaren. So, JW, I'll start with you as a McLaren fan. What do you think of the driver pair up for this year?
I mean, I think easy top 3 best lineups on the grid. Like, I can't debate that. You could debate which one is the best, and this is me being completely objective here. Now,
Alex, I knew you were going to.
Yeah, he was gonna do something uber gay. So, anyways, I think if you go by accolades individually, bar for bar, it is the best lineup. Lando's coming off a world championship season. Oscar is coming off what easily could have been a world championship season. I think these guys are going to be even tighter now. I think the battles are going to be even closer. And I would not be surprised if we see more McLaren crashes this season.
Which one of them is going to be more tighter? You got to specify. It doesn't work that way. One of them.
Oh no, absolutely.
I think you got to say lose.
I think
you know what I mean.
I think hands down, Lando's probably going to be the better driver, just because you're coming off a world championship win, and I can't remember a season in which a world driver champion driver just went on to be completely ass the season after. So yeah, I think you just improve more and more, and I think Lando's still going to have the upper hand on Oscar.
Nico Rosberg, because he
retired.
He went from first to last very quickly.
Very quick.
Yeah, I think we're going to end it there on that note. Yeah. I don't think there's anything Cory and I are going to add on that one. We're just going to let this suspense build, and we're just going to grab this clip and we're going to play it.
I think it was great. Yeah. I don't have anything to cover because I want to cover it in the next segment.
Perfect.
I'm right there. All right, so we're wrapping up. This is the second episode of our driver pairings for 2026. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll be back at you with next episode, which will be episode 11. Thanks for hanging. See y'all.
Peace.
Lotus, 72. Lotus, 72.